Oh, good to see you. Oh, good to see you. Yeah. Say hi to
Well, good evening, friends. Welcome to Behind the Baton in a different setting than you're used to. I think here in a minute you'll understand why when you get to hear our soloist on this as opposed to the atrium piano. I think we'll all be much happier up here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jim Davidson. I'm on the music staff here at First Cavalry, and I also assist Kyle with the symphony. And just a couple announcements before we get going, shameless commercial. You might have noticed our normal space in the atrium is set up for a concert. We're hosting the Miami of Ohio Men's Glee Club at 4 o'clock on Sunday, and they're going to be joined by the MSU Men's Chorus. And that's a free concert, so you're welcome to come back. Again, that's at 4 o'clock in the atrium. And that's assuming you're not just concerted out from the fantastic concert you're going to see on Saturday night at the Symphony, which Kyle and our soloist will tell you all about. So please welcome Kyle, and he'll introduce this month's soloist.
Thank you, Jim. And good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Happy New Year. Welcome back to our Behind the Baton series before our classical concerts. And it's a great privilege and pleasure to get to introduce to you our soloist, Wei-Yun Chang. Welcome, welcome. So this concert is always an exciting one. This is the one where we feature our Hallam competition winner. And before I do anything else, I want to acknowledge Judy Hallam. Dwayne and Judy started this competition how many years? 28 years ago?
She was the 29th.
So 29 years ago.
And next year is our 30th.
Next year's the 30th.
And that's going to be a big class.
Big year, yeah, absolutely. And over the last 30 years or so, Judy and Dwayne were responsible for many great young artists who have come and played in our hall with our orchestra and have all gone on to wonderful things. So we expect great things from you as well. And I will tell you one of the things about the competition. This is a young artist competition, but it's not a young artist competition like many orchestras have where it's high school players. This is young pre-professionals who are on their way to a professional career. And we have people coming now from all over the world to compete. Russia.
I just got a request from a Russian kid that he's 27 and the cutoff date is 26. And he was asking if we would change it. So no, kid from Russia,
from all over. Yeah. So we've had just marvelous players. And one of the things that's kind of great about this competition is that I am not one of the judges. And that is as I like it and as it should be. And it gives the independent panel of judges a chance to evaluate our players without thinking about some of the things that I think about, like how much is this going to cost us to do?
it doesn't cost you anything because we pay for it all.
That is true. Judy pays for our soloists, but what I mean is how many players are going to have to be in the orchestra for this one? Are we going to have to rent this music? You know, do we have to have the piano tuned? All those things that are practical aspects of it. And so we don't want the practicalities to get in the way of deciding who is the best competitor of the year. But I will tell you all this. I have a couple moles who are in the competition, judges, who send me little updates periodically. And they'll say things like, oh, the Rachmaninoff was fantastic, or this one was great. And I will tell you, Wei-Yun, that I got a lot of indications that you were truly spectacular before the results were announced. So,
well, I will tell her that every judge picked her first.
Yeah, I knew that, yeah.
I don't mind telling you that.
Yeah. So, welcome to Springfield. Is this this would be your second time at least, because you were here for the finals and competition last spring.
Yes.
And so, what the purpose of this event here behind the baton is for a chance for all of us here. These are all our audience members. They will be there Saturday night to hear the concert. For them to get to know you a little bit face to face and not just the soloist comes out, bows, and sits down and plays. So I'm going to interview you a little bit. I'm going to ask you some questions, then we will probably have you play a little bit, and I know you said you're a little nervous. A little nervous too. Don't be nervous. We're a very friendly bunch here in Springfield. I'm going to start with, you are a doctoral student at Indiana University, is that correct?
Yes.
And so, and did you do other parts of your training at Indiana as well? Have you been there for a while, or are you newly there?
I did both my bachelor's and master's and now doctor's of my degrees.
Okay, so you've been there for a few years. And now, just remind me, how many piano majors are there at Indiana?
I think it depends on the program, but India is a very big.
It's a big school, big music school.
Yes.
How many piano teachers are there? There are a lot of teachers, aren't there?
Is it around 10?
Yeah, around 10 piano performance faculty members. And some of you might remember just a couple of years ago, Spencer Meyer was here as our soloist. And Spencer is one of the teachers at Indiana, and he's on your doctoral committee?
Yes.
That's great. That's fantastic. Well, that speaks well of him and of you. So tell us a little bit about your background. Where do you come from, and how did you start playing piano, and when?
I originally grew up in Taipei, Taiwan, and I came to the States like 18 years ago for my bachelor's degree at Indiana. And I started piano around 5 years ago. I had an older sister who plays the piano in the beginning, and I was kind of like messing around when she practiced, and I found it very interesting, like messing her. And so I asked my mom for a lesson, and then she was like, sure. And then I went for a few lessons, and I eventually ended up in a group class, kind of like more have-fun style. And I think after 2-3 years of that, I just decided that I wanted to like play a bit more seriously.
So group piano, where you have a whole bunch of kids on keyboards, right?
Yes.
And all wearing headphones, listening to your teacher and playing together.
Yeah, kind of like that. With all the headphones, kind of like play out together.
Play all together, yeah. It sort of was it Suzuki style?
I think it's Yamaha.
Okay, Yamaha style, yeah. Okay. So a couple years of group piano, and then you decided this is something that you wanted to do, and you started studying with a solo teacher.
Yeah, I didn't actually move on to study privately. Was one of my group class teacher, or like I think so, yes. And then I switched teacher after I got into the music program in the elementary school. And yeah, so I studied with the professor there, and then I just kind of like kept doing music major from then on.
So you said your older sister was playing piano first, and that's what kind of enticed you in. Was your family musical? Did your parents play music? Or was this just something that was chosen as an activity for you?
Both my parents don't play instruments, and I think my mom always had the dream of like playing piano. So she got this upright piano at home while nobody at home actually plays. So then my sister started the lessons, and then I just like messing around. I found it interesting, and that's how I started.
Okay, and then so once you started kind of studying seriously, with a single teacher and kind of heading in that direction, what was your path then? Were you pushed hard? Did you have to practice many hours? Was it something you wanted to do? How did that work for you?
I think I'll never be a really like good student. So I kind of like be lazy on practicing sometimes. I know some of my friends they practice a lot, but I try to keep it like at most like 2 to 3 hours a day, so then I get to enjoy other parts of my life too.
So, are you talking about when you were like in elementary through high school, or are you talking about now?
I think all the way.
Always, yeah.
Okay. I love to do other things in life too, so like, yeah. I was pretty outdoorsy when I was a kid, but I love like just after school is not practice, I just want to go somewhere else, and I'll practice for a little bit after school.
So when you decided to go to Indiana as an undergrad, how did you choose to go to Indiana? Did you know that you wanted to come to the United States to study, or was it specifically something about Indiana or a teacher that made you decide to come here?
Initially, my first teacher, when I got into the music program at elementary school, she got her doctorate degree from Indiana. Well, that's how I know the school. And I know that I wanted to come here for a bachelor's degree, so I auditioned a bunch of schools, and
I think Indiana was my first stop in my audition tour, and I just really like the city. It gives a very calm and peaceful vibe, and the school is really big and pretty, so I loved it.
Was it what was the transition like coming from Taipei, which is a huge city, to Bloomington, which is not a huge city?
Yeah, and actually, I think that's what attracts me the most, because it's so different from where I grew up, and I kind of like the just the peacefulness of it, and you can concentrate on doing your practice or study, whatever you want to do. Also because it's a university, so you get to also take other classes aside from music, so you can kind of like explore other interests when you practice.
So, for those who don't know, in the United States, we have conservatories which are solely music schools, like Juilliard or Peabody, where I did my doctorate. But then there are a few really major music schools that happen to be at universities. So Indiana University is one of them, Iowa is another one, Michigan, where they have a school of music within the overall university. So when you're there doing a bachelor's degree, you get a bachelor's degree in music from a music school within the university, as opposed to where I was an undergraduate, we just had a music department at the university. So I had a Bachelor of Arts that was a general liberal arts degree with a music major. So this is more specialized and specific than a university, and a little bit broader than a conservatory. And so that was your experience at Indiana. Tell us a little bit about what do you love to play? What composers do you love to play at the piano? What was it that inspired you to do the work, to do the practice for this instrument?
I think my favorite composer kind of like changes all the time. It depends on what works I'm doing. And lately I've been very into contemporary music, and also like I was saying 19th century, but a little bit more romantic stuff.
So like who?
Particularly I like Scriabin and early Scriabin.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I also enjoy playing like classical music, and I would say early Beethoven as well.
Early Beethoven, early Scriabin. Is there something about the early works of the composer that especially attracted you?
I guess I just didn't play enough of the late Beethoven yet to like start to understand the beauty of it.
Yeah.
But I do love the early Beethoven and Mozart. They kind of really classical sonatas there.
What about, have you played much concerto repertoire with orchestra where you're the soloist in front of the orchestra?
Not really.
Not a lot, okay.
So this is an opportunity I really
Yeah, okay. What makes it different for you to do a concerto as opposed to solo piano or even chamber music work where you're playing with a small ensemble?
I think when you play with the orchestra, you can feel this like big, powerful. The entire music comes up so different from like when you play with a small ensemble or play alone. And I think it's just a very different experience that I think it's powerful, and it's very. I think I really do like it because you kind of like hear a lot of different colors to different instruments than just like the piano itself.
How do you prepare? One of the things that's challenging when you're practicing for a major concerto like this is that you don't have an orchestra to practice with, right? You don't have a group of people playing that, so you will usually practice with a second piano, and the piano will play the orchestra part while you're playing the solo part. How do you prepare yourself for the difference between working with another pianist versus, say, 85 people on the stage? What's your preparation like, and how do you think about it?
I like to listen to recordings of performance with the orchestra to kind of get the sound in my ears. When I play my own part, I can imagine the orchestra's part. And I think in general, I would just try to play louder a little more, so that because it's kind of easier to adjust your balance if you play with the second piano. But with the orchestra, a lot of other instruments players are also on the stage playing with you, and I think it's just kind of hard to project something, so I'll try to bring the overall dynamic up a little bit.
Tell us a little bit about this piece. Tell us about Rachmaninoff Third Piano Concerto, because the way it works in the Helen competition is that the competitors each come in with their own piece. There are competitions where you have to play required pieces, but in this case, part of the competition is choosing the work that you're going to play. So you chose Rachmaninoff 3. Tell us why you chose this piece, and tell us a little bit about it.
There was a very interesting story, because in our doctoral program, you have to play, I think, in total 7 recitals, and they ask you to play certain genres of pieces as well. So I think 2 of them has to be concerto recital. And so I was deciding my repertoire and talked to my teacher, and know that I wanted to do Rachmaninoff because I've never get a chance to play his concerto, and I really loved them. And initially I wanted to do Rock 2, and so I talked to my teacher, and she encouraged me to try Rock 3, which I've never thought that I would actually go for, because this is such a scary piece. It's a really, really big piece and very demanding, and so I just follow what she says.
So your teacher said, do this one.
Yes.
You said, okay.
Well, I love it, because I've been dreaming of playing that piece since I was a kid. I love it. And I wanted to try it when I was in the high school. My teacher at the time told me that it's probably going to cause damage to my body, because it's just such a big piece, and I should wait until maybe a bit later.
Okay, so tell us why a little bit. This, Rachmaninoff was a pianist as well as a composer. I mean, he primarily wrote for himself. So he wrote his 4 piano concertos for himself to perform. He did write a few other pieces. He wrote a couple symphonies, and his symphonic dances, but really, he's a pianist. He's a giant, right? He's huge. How tall was he? Like 6'6" or something like that? I mean, he's a very big man, and he had huge hands. How far could he reach?
I don't know, but I know it's a lot.
I think it was like a 13th or something. I mean, it's just, his stretch was huge. And I can tell by looking at you that you're not 6'6", and you don't have hands that look like they reach a 13th. So what is it specifically about the writing that you have to do to accommodate this composer pianist who wrote for himself?
There are a lot of big chords in the Rock 3, and sometimes you just have to make some accommodation and just grow up the chord. And I think that's the big part of it, because it's a lot of times those chords are also very loud.
Right.
So physically, it's already very demanding.
Yeah.
And with my hand size, it's just making it worse.
A friend told me that actually, of the major piano concertos, the Rock 3 is the one that has the most demands on the pinky.
Yes.
Is that true? Are you finding that as well?
Yes.
It requires the most strength of any of the concertos on the pinky, because you've got to really push the chords for that.
Because a lot of times, while you play the big chord, your pinky is also playing the top melody. So the pinky has to have more strength to bring out the top melody.
Can you demonstrate that for us? Can you play a couple of those big chords where we hear the melody, maybe in the first movement?
I'll leave that there.
Say that again, so people can hear it.
So I think right here, you have him playing the top melody with the pinky, but there's a lot more going on underneath. So I think it's kind of going for the rest of the piece that you have to bring out the top parts a lot.
So you hear that melody is really way up at the top end of the instrument, but you're still playing just a whole bunch of arpeggiated chords underneath that, right?
Yeah.
Can you give us a little bit, a little example of the cadenza? The first movement of the concerto is a big movement. It's a long movement. But then when we get to 3/4 of the way through, the orchestra drops out, or at least for a time, because we rejoin you for part of it. And there's a pretty big cadenza section, which is a solo section for the piano. Can you give us just a taste of that?
A little bit?
Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to do the whole thing. And it sort of lulls us into this thought that this is just going to be a fairly simple melodic idea, but there's a lot to it. Just give us our first theme. Yeah, I can play that part of it. That part I can do. And it's gorgeous. I mean, beautiful beginning. And so that's the first movement. The second movement is a set of theme and variations. And would you mind just giving us the theme, the piano theme of the second movement? The second movement is really gorgeous. Just this beautiful, again, kind of lures you into the idea that it's just a slow movement, but there's a lot of interesting variety in there. That's absolutely gorgeous. If you don't mind, why don't you give us one of the variations, one of the faster variations, like when it goes into the waltz, the quicker one in the second movement, is a variation on this main theme. So you can hear that slow melody that then just gets elaborated in a much more difficult passage. And then how about just give us a little bit of the last movement so we can hear what's coming to finish this.
The opening?
Yeah, yeah. And then maybe just a little bit of the final passage. Why not? We're all sitting here. One of the things that I find to be really, this is going to be a really neat program, because in the first half of the concert we are playing music by Igor Stravinsky. We're playing his Petrushka, which was written in 1911. And Stravinsky was a Russian composer who was an emigre to Paris. He was sort of a Russian expatriate who left. And Stravinsky really took music in an entirely new direction. I mean, he was, in some ways, the beginning of true modernism in music, and not in a way that's alienating. It's not about atonality. It's not about, 12-tone music. It's just a very different approach to music that uses lots of melodic writing, but in sort of blocky ways rather than this evolving way. And then Rachmaninoff wrote this concerto in 1909, just 2 years before Petrushka. I mean, 1 year after Stravinsky wrote The Firebird. And so Rachmaninoff is another Russian expatriate, goes to Paris. Actually, this piece, the third piano concerto, was premiered in New York with what is now the New York Philharmonic. And so how do you approach, I mean, he's really kind of the end of Romanticism, Rachmaninoff is. How do you approach a 20th century composer who's writing in such a romantic way? Are there other composers that you're thinking about when you're doing this, or are there things that you take from your technique where you've studied the 19th century composers that come into your understanding of this piece?
A lot of time, I think Rachmaninoff music remind me of some whole movie soundtrack.
Yeah.
It's very like lush in the harmonies, and the melody is usually very beautiful and kind of like was a lot of torn apart within. And so I think I tend to think that way, but sometimes I think playing wise with your techniques remind me a lot of Scriabin for some reason. I think especially the left-hand part with a lot of running left-hand. There's a lot of notes, but once you get it, it actually feels it kind of comes naturally in the left-hand.
Right. Okay. Tell us, you say you like to listen to recordings. Who are pianists that you like to listen to, and particularly for this piece?
For this piece, I listen to many different recordings, and I really do like Yu Wang's recording, and also Argridge recording with this.
Marta Argerich?
Yes.
Yeah. And what is it about their playing that you like?
I think it's very clear with like the sound and also their musical ideas, and their technique is just amazing.
Yeah, their technique is, their technique's kind of flawless. One of the things that I think is a real challenge with this particular concerto, it's a bigger challenge than with the second piano concerto, is that the orchestra takes some significant melodic material, right? The piano, you presented at the beginning, and then the orchestra really takes it over, and you start to do some very difficult technical passage work after that, while the orchestra starts playing melody. And so there are times in this piece where I feel like the orchestra actually needs to be above the piano, and then the piano weaves its way back above the orchestra, and there's more interweaving of the two voices than, say, in the second, where it's pretty clear who's leading and who's following on that. So if there are a couple places where you're like, I can't hear the piano enough, that's on purpose. That's Rachmaninoff's fault. That's not her fault. That's not my fault. That's the way this piece is written. It is supposed to be a balancing act back and forth. So let's ask if anybody has any questions. Anybody have any questions for our soloist? Loretta?
So I'm curious with getting your doctoral degree, if you intend to teach when you are done, or if you want to have a circuit of playing, or all of the above.
Just so the people who are listening online can hear, the question is, what do you intend to do with your doctoral degree? Are you going to teach? Are you going to perform? What's your plan?
I think I like teaching, so hopefully you will be able to get the teaching job after that.
As a doctoral student right now, are you a teaching assistant then? Do you work with the younger pianists at Indiana?
Yes, I mainly teach the undergrads and the graduate students.
The undergrads, yeah. And do you teach any of the group piano classes, or is it all solo lesson?
Both. I teach both the group class and the solo lessons.
So the group classes, that's usually for the non-piano majors, right? The ones who have to pass their piano proficiency.
I think the group class I teach, they are music majors, so just like non-piano majors.
Non-piano majors, right, yeah. Okay. Other questions? Yes?
You said that your high school teacher discouraged you playing this. Why was that?
So the question is, you said your high school teacher discouraged you from playing this piece, and why was that?
I think it's because this piece is such a huge demand for your fingers and most of your body. And I think at the time she thinks that it's going to cause only damage to my finger because they're probably not strong enough to work like this.
So it's really just the physicality of it,
Yeah.
not the musicality, and not even necessarily the technique.
Maybe the technique as well.
Technique, yeah.
But I think that she's just like mainly worried about this piece is going to cause some damage.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you do anything specifically for those pinkies to strengthen them?
Do you do anything to specifically strengthen the pinkies? I've got a story I'm going to tell in a second.
Not really, I just try my best.
Robert Schumann, the composer, was a pianist, and his teacher was Clara, his later wife, Clara Wieck's father. And so Robert was training to be a virtuoso pianist, and he wanted to strengthen his pinkies. And so he rigged up a weight system on pulleys. So he attached a weight to a string that went up to a pulley, and it came down, and then he practiced piano with tied to his pinky, tied the weight to his pinky. So he thought it was basically bodybuilding the pinky. It wasn't a good idea. He damaged his hands to the point where he couldn't play anymore, because at the time they didn't know that these two fingers are tied to the same tendon. And so separating them like that was actually a really terrible idea. So don't lift weights with your pinky to get ready for this piece. Yes?
I always have questions. I have two questions. One will be musical, the other will not. The name of this concert is The Clown.
Yes.
I heard a little bit of Send in the Clown that Judy Collins made so popular.
Yeah.
In the Sondheim. Was that intended? Or?
No, that doesn't have. So the question is this one's for me. This is the concert is called The Clown. No, in this case, Petrushka, the first half piece by Stravinsky, is it's a ballet score, and so it's storytelling music, and it tells the story of Petrushka, which is the Russian name for the clown in Commedia dell'arte. So Pierrot, Petrushka, and so the clown is kind of the tragic, dramatic figure, comic tragic. And excuse me. And so the first half of the concert is about the clown, and the ballet story is all about Petrushka the clown.
My other question, since you don't like to always practice, I want to know, because I'm a football fan, are you an Indiana Hoosier fan?
I wish I could watch the final.
Do you ever get to go to games? No.
Tickets is very expensive now.
That's okay. Too expensive for the students. That's the way college football's going these days. Other questions? Yes.
With your parents being non-musical, were they encouraging you to pursue a career in piano performance?
The question is, since your parents aren't in music, were they encouraging you to pursue a career in music?
According to my mom, I asked her for it, so I think I'm the one who wanted it, so they just being very supportive.
They have been.
Yeah.
Now, your older sister who started piano and you kept interrupting her, is she still playing piano?
Occasionally, but she went on to do other things.
So not as a career.
Yeah.
Yes?
Any other competitions that you're entering this year?
Are you entering any other competitions right now?
Not at the moment. I tried to finish up my doctoral program, so.
Yeah, this is a busy time for you, I'm sure. Well, let's please give our soloist a nice big round of applause. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for coming to Springfield to play with the Springfield Symphony this week. This is going to be a really exciting concert. We had our first rehearsal with the orchestra last night, focused on Petrushka. We'll be working on Petrushka tonight, and also starting our work on the Rachmaninoff, and it's going to be a great, great program. Judy, is there something?
I'll introduce her husband, who was her accompanist at the competition.
Oh yeah, why don't you introduce your husband?
Okay. So back there has my husband moving, and he accompanied me at the competitions and all these.
Welcome back to Springfield. Thank you all so much. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you Saturday night at the Symphony.
Thank you.